Everhood 2, a game that started out as an April Fool's joke on the official Discord and is now a fully released game. If you've looked at my channel, you'd know I was a really big fan of the original Everhood when it initially released and for a good while after. So what do I think of the sequel? Well, I have to say, yeah, it's pretty good. Before I played the game, I heard some people saying the story wasn't all that great, especially when compared to the first game. I definitely see where they're coming from because this game does feel like it has less to say than its predecessor. The story in the first game had a message it wanted to convey about accepting death, whereas Everhood 2 feels more like it's just a fun adventure, and I personally don't see anything wrong with that. I think it does what it sets out to do fairly well and has an overall pretty fun story. It's nothing mind-blowing, mind you, but it is definitely passable. The story is also definitely supported by the amount of side content, so if the main story isn't exactly piquing your interest, you can wander off to just find a bunch of little secrets and side areas. This is where the game really shines. The gameplay of Everhood 2 is a massive improvement over the first game in my opinion. I was a huge fan of Everhood's battle system and I spent a lot of time perfecting bosses and even more time playing custom battles because the core gameplay was just so fun and unique. Everhood 2 steps it up by introducing different ways to play the game. There's much more strategy involved now. Now you have the option to choose how you tackle each and every battle. You can play it safe by just firing your attacks whenever you have one charged and play a Sword of Death by a Thousand Cuts playstyle, or you can risk holding your charges to build up stronger attacks in a risk-reward sort of way that could either make fights take longer or shorter time to complete depending on your skill level. Speaking of which, difficulty. The game has multiple difficulty settings that change your health and regen and enemies' health. I played on normal as I was clearly going to be rusty since it had been so long since I had played the first game, and I didn't really know what to expect. The game was rather easy and allows for many crutches with the new item system. It wasn't a complete snooze fest, but people who played a lot of the original game shouldn't have many issues getting through this game. Even on some of the secret bosses I didn't die once because compared to some of the custom battles I had played in the past, they were a cakewalk. Again, they weren't boring, not in the slightest, just something to take note of. Near the end of the game, the difficulty is definitely stepped up however, so if things being a bit easy is a problem for you, it doesn't stay overly easy the entire way through. The overworld is about what you'd expect. It's almost functionally identical to the first game and it works fine. There are also repeating encounters now, which to some might be annoying, but I didn't think they were all that intrusive. Most enemies don't take that long to kill anyway, so they're only a minor inconvenience. The music in Everhood 2 is similar to Spelunky 2 for me. By that I mean the soundtrack is a bit less memorable than the first game, while still being quite good in its own right. Everhood 2's soundtrack doesn't have as many standout tracks, which does make sense considering how there are overworld weak enemies now. It wouldn't really make sense for a tiny baby enemy to have the hardest going music of all time going with it. The small enemy themes aren't bad at all. Some of them are quite good actually, but overall I'd say Everhood's soundtrack is quite a bit more memorable. The boss music is definitely a step up though and has some of my personal favorites such as the song playing right now. Another issue I had with the music though is that the enemies tend to have quite a lot of health and none of the songs are really all that long, so the looping music is very obvious with a lot of fights, which is a bit disappointing. I really am quite a big fan of the new inventory system. The weapon options are fun and unique for the most part. The trinkets are also quite a cool concept, although I found most of them to be kind of useless and or boring. But they were fine. This game has its own Steam workshop, which I'm really looking forward to. A big gripe me and a friend had back when we were playing the first game was just how much of a pain in the ass it was to make custom battles, so I'm hoping they've streamlined their process a bit. It also seems like the workshop supports more than just single battles, but rather entire campaigns made by the community as far as I'm aware. So that's also exciting. Overall, I'm quite satisfied with Everhood 2. There are some things I would think could have been improved upon a bit, but it was generally a pretty fun experience. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. This is a game worth your time and money.